Views and likes, we run it up. Subscribe to the boys and run it up. It's your favorite podcast, turn it up. The Run going live, we done done it up. If you like sports, we got it. You see the game winner, who shot? Score a touchdown in the last second. We gonna talk about it in the next segment. We gonna talk about all the sports you like. We live at 7 on a Thursday night. Come home from work and grab a bite. Then listen to the fellas talk about the fight. We got Sean Griffin, Mason Kills. Can't forget about the boy Lance Russell. We talking NBA and Major League. You know we gotta talk about the NFL. AJ Nash, did you see that pass? We ducking so hard that we breaking the glass. To run the best podcast y'all done heard. Let's tell everybody, help spread the word. So kick back and we rest your nerve. We give you everything sports fans deserve. Guys tell your girls, girls tell your dude. We on Instagram and we on YouTube. Views and likes, we run it up. Subscribe to the boys and run it up. It's your favorite podcast, turn it up. The Run going live, we done done it up. If you like sports, we got it. You see the game winner, who shot? Score a touchdown in the last second. We gonna talk about it in the next segment.
Yeah. Chameleon Battles, what's good with you? Coach Broxson, I see you. Hey, listen, this is the city's most dangerous podcast to run. I am your host, Mason Kilby. I got the rest of the crew, my boys, my guys, my partners in crime, Sean Griffin, Les Rochelle, they'll be in a little bit. This is The Run. We got a big show on tap for you on this Friday, on this beautiful Friday. We got a local neighborhood hero coming into the show, live from Maryland. Maryland Terrapins defensive back, Perry Fisher. He's going to join us in just a little bit. Just want to go over a few things before I bring my guy in. NCAA March Madness. We got the Sweet 16 going on. We got the beautiful Sweet 16. We just got the love this time of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about some of the last night's games. Let's get into it. Alabama, North Carolina. Alabama. My goodness. They win 89-87 over UNC. I told y'all UNC wasn't that team. I told you, didn't I? Didn't I say that Alabama was going to come out and put that thigh out to North Carolina? Didn't I tell you? Now, with that being said, Alabama, I think, is a major sleeper to reach the Final Four. They got a lot of depth, and they got a lot of firepower, and they got a lot of outside shooting. Alabama beats North Carolina 89-87. Alabama, Grant Nelson with 24 points. Did y'all see my man Grant Nelson in the game last night? I'm talking about 37 seconds to go. They're down by 1 and 1. Hit the ball, hit the free throws at the free throw line. It's nothing, baby. It's nothing. With Grant Nelson playing the way he's been playing, Alabama, they might be a Final Four team. I'm not even gonna lie to you. They might be a Final Four with Grant Nelson playing the way he playing. That kid is a baller from the Midwest, straight up baller. I like that kid. So let's go into the rest of the scores. Clemson, Arizona. This is one of my actual surprises because I really thought Arizona was another Final Four team. They lose to Clemson 72-77. My guy, PJ Hall, with 17 points. Clemson only goes as far as PJ Hall will take them. If he can stay out of foul trouble, Clemson might be another dark horse team to make the Final Four. But he has to stay out of foul trouble. And that is the trick when it comes to PJ Hall. Teams know that. They like to key on him in the paint, try to get him in foul trouble. They know that Clemson likes to play through PJ Hall. If he can stay out of foul trouble, that might be a dark horse sleeper team. Now, what else we got here? Illinois over Iowa State. Another one. See, I went 2 for 2 last night. And this was another one I got wrong. Illinois 72, Iowa State 69. Iowa State, for somebody to be as elite a defensive team as Iowa State, Illinois' what's my man name? Terry Shannon Jr. Terry Shannon Jr. with 29 points. Mm-mm-mm. Terry Shannon keeps playing like that. Illinois might be in the Final Four. Who knows? My goodness. Now, what else we have here? Let's go into tonight's games. We got North Carolina State and Marquette going on right now. And last time I checked, North Carolina State was up by 3 over North Carolina State. North Carolina State was up over Marquette by 3. Big time game. If DJ Burns can continue to do what he's doing, the big man in the middle, continue to collapse in that paint, continue to play through him and the other DJ. We got DJ Horn and DJ Burns. We got the DJ twins playing on North Carolina State. If they continue to average among the score around their average, 16 points a game, North Carolina State might be representing the ACC in that Final Four. Big if, but DJ Burns, DJ Horn, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, you'll see North Carolina State in that Final Four. All other games, Gonzaga and Purdue. Now, Purdue is my national championship game participant against UConn. I have UConn winning the national championship. I have them beating Purdue. So you best believe I feel like Purdue is going to win tonight against Gonzaga. I think Purdue has too much size for Gonzaga, and that's always seemed to be a problem around this time of the year. If you got a team, if you have a team with size and you have a team with good guard play, you will go far in the tournament. So that's why I like Purdue. We got the big one. Duke and Houston. Number 1 seed Houston versus number 4 seed Duke. I have Houston already in the Final Four as well. So, I'm going with Houston. But, Duke's Duke. Duke's going to bring it. Duke is the blue blood amongst this tournament. Houston used to be a blue blood back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. But I do like Houston in this matchup against Duke. And then we got Creighton and Tennessee. I have Tennessee winning this matchup as well. And again, like I said, UConn and Purdue is in my national championship game. I also got UConn winning that game. But despite all that, let's get into the man of the hour. Let's get into my guy, Perry Fisher. Any of you guys don't know Perry Fisher, he's a local around here from Tallahassee. Played at Tallahassee Lincoln High School, over there at Maryland doing his thing. He'll be here in a few to talk about his upbringing, to talk about the state of college football as far as NIL, as far as transfer portal. We're going to talk a little bit about how it was for him in high school and all that good stuff. So y'all just stay tuned for that. It's going to be a big one, as you guys know. So y'all just bear with me. He'll be here in about the next 5 minutes. And you're going to like this one. So y'all stay tuned. Had to bring in my boy Sean Griffin. He just now joining us. What's up, Sean, baby?
What's going on, baby? What's going on? I was on that bike, man.
Oh, you was on that bike, huh?
I was on that bike, man. And I was out there going knucking futs.
Let me see it.
Knucking futs.
What that mean?
We should go leave that to the imagination, man.
We'll leave it to the imagination, man.
All my 2-wheel ride safe, man. Ride safe. Make sure you wearing your gear at all times. Make sure you're being a defensive driver. Make sure you're looking out for the people that's not looking out for you.
Coming from Mr. Two-Wheel, man, I'll stay safe on the bikes, man. But, man, I was just in the nuts and bolts of this Sweet 16, man, from last night, going over with North Carolina, Alabama. Alabama beating North Carolina. Like I said, I was telling everybody, watch out for Alabama.
Alabama are trying to show the team. They got it all, man. They got a good softball program, obviously historic football program. They trying to show people that they're well versed in athletics right now. So shout out to Alabama, Roll Tide.
Then here was a big one for me. Kind of messed up my bracket. We got Illinois over Iowa State 72-69. That was a big shocker for me, but Illinois got a guard named Terrence Shannon Jr. that dropped 29 on Iowa State last night and took care of that business as far as, just crashed my hopes and dreams of Not a perfect bracket, but at least had a perfect Sweet 16 bracket. Nah, that all went crashing down. Terry Shannon will have none of that. So Illinois wins that. Clemson 77 over Arizona. That was another one. I was 2 for 2 last night because I thought Arizona was at least going to make it to the Elite Eight. Clemson, an ACC team, 77-72. So I don't feel as bad because, you know, Miami having a down year, but ACC has 3 teams in the Sweet 16 right now.
I mean, you know, they look at the ACC as a basketball conference, man. So, I mean, it's not really surprising, honestly. You know, some of the top dogs, you know, they got good football programs, and then, you know, the others have good basketball programs. But shout out to the ACC showing that they can compete.
Yeah, I mean, as over the years, they college basketball felt like the ACC was down, and I guess because North Carolina and Duke hasn't been their normal, just dominant self, like in the past maybe 3-4 years. But ACC basketball is still playing at a high level. I mean, you had Miami; they made the Final Four last year, and then you still have the Blue Bloods in Duke and North Carolina. Now you see you have Clemson. You know, so I don't know what they meant by that, but ACC is here to play, baby.
Man, listen, you got some kids that's committing to these schools that's, you know, changing the narrative, man. You know, Duke coming out with some upsets last year, Duke football, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, Duke beat Clemson? Like, what's going on here? Yeah. So, you know, it's football. We all know it's any given Saturday, man. Any given weekend, any given Saturday on College game day, somebody can go down. Somebody.
Speaking of football. Yeah. Speaking of football, I remember you sent me something about DJ Uiagalelei. Lord, forgive me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong.
Just DJ, man.
DJ. My apologies. Uiagalelei. Uiagalelei. There we go.
It's tough, man. It's
Got
tough.
it, baby. Uiagalelei.
Yeah, man.
6 foot. You say 6'4", 250 pounds, built like a tight end, playing quarterback. He's bigger than Cam.
Right. And he's in college still. So, I mean, we saw a little bit of it, you know. We saw a little bit of, you know, short runs by DJ last year at Oregon State. And, you know, put him behind that Florida State offensive line that has been revamped over the past couple of years under head coach Mike Norvell. It's going to be tough, man. King of the portal. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be I mean, 4th and short, how do you not go for it with a quarterback that size? You know, he did it all year long last year. And I mean, I think he has a lot to prove coming back to the ACC. You know, formerly at Clemson, committed to Clemson out of high school, played there for a year or two, went to Oregon State. And, you know, back to couple coaching changes, and now it's back to the ACC. So I feel like I feel like he's coming back with a chip on his shoulder and a lot to prove. Because the narrative at Clemson was that, you know, he's not accurate. He's not really that much of a quarterback. He's just kind of like a bruiser in a sense, but he doesn't have much arm talent. And I feel like he's looking to prove. Yeah, I think he's looking to prove a lot of people wrong, especially Clemson. So I mean, that's definitely a game that's going to be circled. And Florida State has Clemson at home this year. So Florida State has Clemson. Yeah, they're hosting Clemson at Doak Campbell Stadium this year. Big win on the road last year at Clemson. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a lot of matchups this upcoming season that are going to be either, you know, for lack of better terms, nail biters or barn burners, man. It's either going to be a shootout or it's going to be a blowout.
Did you know they said DJ signed for $1.1 million to come to Florida State?
NIL?
NIL. If NIL was going on in high school, or I'm sorry, in college when you played, what would you have done with that money? How would you have dealt with NIL?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm gonna be honest. I peaked entirely too late. I peaked entirely too late. I didn't peak until after my collegiate playing time was done, which I didn't even play all 4 years of college. I played my freshman year, and then I played some pro for a little bit after that. And I didn't really peak until like my second or third year playing semi-pro. I was young, so I mean, going into just to put it in perspective, my entire first semester of my freshman year of college, I was 17 years old until the week after the first semester ended. The week after we went home for Christmas.
We get the politically correct, but if you would have got a check for let's say $80K for making this appearance, what's Sean Griffin about to do with that money? You ain't got no bills.
80,000, man. I ain't got no bills. I ain't got no worries, man. I want to say, 18, 19-year-old me, I would have probably blown that money.
No, you supposed to say, I would have put it in the bank. I would have saved it. I would have invested.
Listen, we can sit here and lie to everybody else, but anybody that attended Great Bethune-Cookman University and anybody that attended Florida A&M University, FAMU, everybody can attest to this. You can go to the Classic with $50 in your pocket and have the greatest time of your life. So imagine going to the Classic and you got 80,000 in the bag. That's just bad decisions, man. Not only that, you got spring break in Daytona, which like I said on an earlier podcast hours, man, an early episode, spring break in Daytona, man, that's a month and a half long. You got bike week going on during spring break. It's just so much just cycling through Daytona, bro. Man, that's all I can say. Just, yeah. Thank you that NIL did not exist then. But I mean,
you just took the words right out of my mouth. I'm just gonna tell you, brother. Thank you for NIL not being popping back when you played back when I played, because I would have been the poster child of bad decisions. I'm telling you that right now.
Listen, I mean, all right, let's put this.
So I'm just saying, for everyone out here, I just hope you just got all my guys out there. They just have good people in your corner. Let's exercise the financial literacy aspect of the NIL, and hopefully you got some great people in your corner that tell you, exactly what you need to do with your money, and not just having handouts, and not just, because you, even in the NFL and professional, you hear so many of the worst case scenarios where athletes spend their money and they're broke because they made bad investments, because, they had the wrong people in their corner, because they couldn't say no. And I don't want to see that happen early for kids in college, if that makes any sense.
Perfect sense, man. Perfect sense.
You just don't want to see it. I mean, I still listen to hear about Clinton Portis, where he said that at one point in time he was going to kill his financial advisor just because of the decisions he caused him to make, and the tips, the bad advice that he gave him. So, just as much as NIL can be a good thing for college athletes, there's guys, there's demons out there, and there's everything else that don't have your best interest at heart, that's looking for handouts and looking to bleed you dry.
There's leeches everywhere, man. It's definitely leeches everywhere. And unfortunately, for a lot of these kids, they're going to be exposed to that now like never before. A lot of them, I mean, everybody gets, not everybody, but I mean, athletes are, that's just kind of the road that you venture down once you go professional. But now, you start to get it at a lot earlier date, or a lot earlier time, where you still feel like you owe people, so that's like the kids going back home, for holiday visits and holiday breaks and whatnot. Now you got what used to be the neighborhood hero looking at you like, hey man, let me hold something, nephew, let me hold something, playboy, I know you got it. Listen, envy will cause people to do a lot of shiesty things. Envy will definitely cause people to do a lot of shiesty things. I mean, envy is just love and hate at the same time, man. they love you enough to big you up, but they hate you enough to, take what they want from you, essentially.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. Staying in the football aspect, man, I still want to talk more about, just the impact of Aaron Donald retiring. And I just don't think people realize just the impact Aaron Donald had for the last 10 years in the National Football League. This man, if Hercules and Zeus had a baby, it came out Aaron Donald. This was a man amongst boys, a god amongst kings. I've never seen the way he collapsed a defensive lineman that collapsed the pocket the way he does. And you should have known, because the man he works out with The Rock. So I mean, that's
just hearing about his dad and in high school, man. That's not normal. That's not normal. That's somebody driven on a mission that this is what I want. This is what I'm gonna get. I mean, yeah, that work ethic is unmatchable. His dad said when he was in high school, he used to wake his dad up. Like Aaron Donald used to wake his father up to go to the basement and lift with him. In high school, this is a kid waking up in high school before going to school that doesn't have to be woken up by his parents. He's getting up. He's waking dad up and saying, "Hey, let's go get this work. Let's go get this work." Then going to school, going through a school day, going through his meetings, going through practice, and going through his team lift. He ain't ducked that smoke, man. It shows. It shows. Yeah. 10-time Pro Bowler, 99 club in Madden. Not that means anything. Yes. But I mean 99 club.
111 sacks.
And
at defensive tackle.
When you really put it in under a microscope, the body of work that he put together in such a short period of time is really unfathomable.
Well, I will say this. I don't know if you remember, if you ever seen that clip of Geno. Geno Smith is back there in the pocket. This was last year. And Aaron Donald does a twist. He does a stunt. And he comes in the B cap unblocked. And you hear as Geno Smith is sitting in the pocket, you can hear Geno saying, "Oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot." As he's going through his progressions, he see Aaron Donald going unblocked on this stunt in this B gap, and you hear Geno Smith because of the microphones in the air saying, "Oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot," as he's throwing, scared out of his last mind. This is a man that takes triple teams, quadruple teams,
and just ham sandwich. He pick up the double, he pick up the triple team, man. He's freeing up for other guys to make plays and still making the play. So I mean, the guy's a freak of nature. The game is definitely gonna miss him. It's just crazy to think Khalil Mack used to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? Still playing, not too far ahead of Aaron Donald, but Khalil Mack was that guy. And it's Aaron Donald came along and it was just yeah, this is my show now. This is my party.
I mean, he's still only 32, Aaron Donald, but you're starting to see it more and more that you know guys leave at their prime, in their early 30s and calling it quits. You see it with Calvin Johnson. You see it with Barry Sanders, if you want to go in the 90s, Calvin Johnson, Aaron Donald, Patrick Willis, guys that was at the peak and at their prime, hang the cleats up and say, you know what? I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. and I can go home and just not have any complaints or have any, regrets about what I've done in my career. What do you feel about that? How do you feel about guys leaving at the top of their game?
I think it's more so that a lot of these guys feel like I'm never gonna give you a chance to doubt what I did for this game. I'm gonna leave putting together this great body of work, knowing that I still have something left in the tank, but I'm never gonna give you that opportunity to feel like I fell off. You know what I'm saying? Like Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders is the greatest what if in professional football. You know what I'm saying? Like Barry Sanders left the game still able-bodied. The way Barry Sanders left the game, Barry Sanders caught a flight to where I want to say Italy, Spain, Italy, something like that. He caught a flight before training camp. They're expecting Barry to show up to training camp. Barry's like, nah. Woke up, said I wasn't feeling it. And he faxed over his retirement and caught a flight. It's just like, I'm never gonna let you see me lose a step. I want you to appreciate me for what I was and what I did for the game, so that it's never to be said that he wasn't that good. Because especially now in the era that we live in, the highlight era. I mean, so many. There's just switching over to basketball briefly. Matter of fact, we can stay football. So many people forget just how good Cam Newton was that people don't even realize. And he said it on his podcast. I was good before the NFL. I was good my life. He broke it down. Like coming out of high school, I was a 5-star. I was that guy in high school. Then he said, okay, went to Florida. Things didn't work out. He sat behind Tim Tebow for a year. Boom. Had to move on. Had to make, better things happen. Went to a JUCO. Went to that JUCO. Won a national championship at that JUCO. Got re-rated. Got re-rated as a 5-star.
College.
You get what I'm saying? Got re-ranked as a 5-star. Went to Auburn, won a national championship, won a Heisman, went to the NFL, number 1 first overall pick in the year that he came out. NFL MVP, went to a Super Bowl, lost a Super Bowl. Everybody wants to bring up the fumble play, but it's like, bro, Cam Newton was never not good.
Not to mention the MVP year.
Right.
Not to mention that MVP year, he went 16-1. Right. The Panthers went 16-1 that year.
16-1 behind a healthy servant of Cam Newton. You get what I'm saying? So it's like Cam didn't leave the game the way he wanted to, which is why Cam still hasn't retired. Cam still wants to go out on that high horse. And, not saying that he's on high horse, but Cam wants to ride off into the sunset, showing people that, listen, what you got in New England wasn't Cam. What you got when I came back to Carolina wasn't Cam. Cam Newton essentially took 2 bad deals trying to prove that he can still play the game that he loved, and it came to bite him in the butt, But it's like, when you talk about a guy at quarterback that won league MVP, that didn't really have weapons. You had Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen was your key weapon. Nothing against Greg Olsen, one of the greatest tight ends of his time. But I mean, right. Greg Olsen was your go-to guy. So to win league MVP and you don't have wideouts, when you don't have, you get what I'm saying? You don't have the best offensive line. You don't have a great running back to really go 16-1 or 15-1 in the NFL. That's a lot, bro. Like that. People look at stats and they get caught up in, oh, well, you didn't go undefeated. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. They look at what you didn't do instead of looking at what you actually did, and they don't appreciate what it is that you actually did. You get what I'm saying? It's like Golden State. When Golden State broke that 72-10 record and went 73-9. Oh, but the Bulls got a title out of theirs. You guys didn't. Okay, cool. But who did the Bulls play when they went 72-10? Who did they beat in the finals that year? Without Google. My point.
What was that? 92?
I couldn't even tell you, bro. I couldn't even tell you. But that's my point. You get what I'm saying? Like, people want to look at your lowlights, and that sums up your career. And it's like, people don't even realize, okay, the Bulls went 72-10. They won that year. Can't tell you who they beat. We just know they won. But everybody can tell
Out
you
the top of the head.
Everybody can tell. Everybody that watched.
Well, I mean, granted, that was over 30 years ago.
But the thing is, you can ask somebody who actually watched that series, and without going to Google, they cannot tell you who that was. And look how far we are removed from the 73-9 team, but you can still tell me, who did they lose to?
I mean, that was what, 10 years ago? No, that wasn't even 10 years ago. That was what, 8, 7?
But who did they lose to? You get what I'm saying? They lost to LeBron. They lost to LeBron and Kyrie, essentially.
Yeah.
Kevin Love, but essentially they lost to LeBron and Kyrie, bro. Like, they lost to, not even arguably in most people's books, not even arguably a top 10 duo. Like, people don't even rate them in their top 10 duo of all time. And it's like, bro, what Kyrie and LeBron did for basketball and that time they spent together in Cleveland, unmatchable. Unmatchable. They come back from 3-1 to the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. Come on, man. So I feel like we got to get out of this whole concept of, oh, well, you did this, but you didn't do that. Stop bringing up people's lowlights to prove a point. Because history is history for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, records are records for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best record in basketball history for over 30 years. Or 20-something years. Over 20 years. We know it's over 20 years. That was the best record in NBA history for 20+ years. And it's like, boom. Golden State Warriors got it. How soon do you think that record is going to be broken? 73-9.
73-9. How soon will it be broken?
It's going to be a long time, bro.
It's hard to gauge that. It's hard to gauge that. A long time.
Like, it's easy to do something at a high level. You get what I'm saying? It's easy to do something at a high level for a short period of time. But it's like, bro, when you really break down stats and accolades, they're not just meaningless numbers. Like, it takes a lot of time. And as the game evolves, certain stats or, certain records are gonna stand for a lot longer. Think about it.
I would say this. I would say that 72-9 record will get broken before LeBron's
40,000 plus
40,000 achievement. I'll say that 72-9 will get broken before that achievement of 40,000 points.
Because here's the scary part, right? Here's the scary part about LeBron's 40,000 plus. All right, so hold on. Give me a second. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played. How many years did Kareem play? Kareem played 20 years, right? Kareem played 20 years. And this is why I say that people have to get out of this mindset of, oh, well, you did it in X amount of time. When Kareem became the all-time leading scorer, he did that at year 15 and went on to play another 5 years. So when he retired, that's when the scoring record was set. That's not when he broke the record. That's when the record was set. You know what I'm saying?
Record was set.
Right. That's when the record was set. So I think it was Cheryl Swoops who went on to say, I feel like records should be broken in the same amount of time or it doesn't count. Well, man, Kareem I don't agree with that. But here's my thing. Because and this is why I say that people need to stop with the give and take. So she said that, okay, Kareem, he broke the record in 15 years, But the record for 38,387 points was set when he retired at year 20. We don't even know what the record was before that. We just know that the record was set when he retired at year 20. LeBron broke that record in how many years?
20.
This is LeBron's
21st year. This is 21st year, 21 years.
But the record is now at 40,000.
Uh-huh.
So on top of breaking Kareem's record, he scored an additional 2,000 points since breaking the record. And LeBron broke that record in year 20, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was last year.
It wasn't year 21. It was year 20. So it's like, are we really going to keep putting up this fight that, he's not this and he's not that? Like, bro, this man is by far, and it's nothing against anybody else. It's nothing, this is strictly talking about LeBron right now. This man is by far the greatest gift to the game of basketball since Kobe Bean Bryant, by way of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He's the greatest gift.
Yes.
But people take for granted the fact that he's adapted to the game that it is today. Like somebody showed a Kobe highlight, or it's a picture circulating of Kobe, of the Lakers playing the Celtics. And this is when the Celtics had the big three. And Kobe's sitting here, Kobe's pulling up, and you got Kevin Garnett with the hand his back. And you got Paul Pierce coming across with an elbow to the face while Kobe's pulling up. And I look down in the comments and somebody's like, yeah, LeBron would be crying about that right now. I'm like, you do realize LeBron played in the same era. Like on his record.
That was an ignorant statement.
You know what I'm saying? On his quest to this 40,000 career points that he scored so far, he played in that era. He's essentially played.
Well, let me say this.
In 3 hours of the NBA right now.
Let me say this when it comes to, comparing eras and comparing with Jordan and with LeBron. I think what it is with people is that rather you grew up in the era of Jordan or rather you grew up in the era of Kobe and LeBron, I think people have the tendency to want to protect their eras that they grew up in. So when you say I'm not saying the eras the players in, I'm talking about just the eras that you grew up in as a person.
Yeah.
So I think it's less of accomplishments with Jordan and with LeBron, and it's just more of people just protecting their eras that they grew up in.
Hey man,
you got some people that's just gonna vouch for Jordan being the GOAT of all time, greatest of all time. Some people is gonna vouch for LeBron being the greatest of all time, and there's gonna be some that vouches for Kobe being the greatest of all time. Even though you don't hear that, and I think why you don't hear Kobe as much is because Kobe and LeBron was in the same era.
Right, Kobe and LeBron were in the same era, and Kobe was a carbon copy of Mike.
Yeah,
Kobe was I think. In all due respect to Michael Jordan, I think Kobe may have been a little bit more of a killer than Mike was. I'm just saying. Reason being. I'm gonna give you this perfect example, right? So
now Kobe was a killer. Now that was a stone cold killer, but
I'm going to give you.
They might be the same. They might be the same.
I'm gonna give you my reason. No. I'm gonna give you a reason. I'm never gonna give you something without giving you some facts.
I got to hear this one.
So Kobe came in at the back end of, I really can't even call it the back end of Michael Jordan's era, but Kobe came in at the back end of Michael Jordan's era. So okay, Kobe didn't have to play the bad boys Pistons, but he had the baby Pistons. You know what I'm saying? He had Kareem and not Kareem. He had Ben and Rasheed Wallace and that new image of the Pistons when the Pistons had their rebuild in the early 2000s. Follow me?
He had to do it. He had to deal with the Pacers.
Kobe came in a very interesting time in the NBA where you could still handshake.
Yeah, you could still handshake.
You could still hand check. Hard fouls were still a thing. And it's like the level of athleticism had turned up a little bit more. A little bit more. Because you didn't have, you know, the Magic Johnsons, who's a 6'6" or 6'8" point guard, who in today's era would be playing out of position. You know what I'm saying? Like Magic in his era, Magic was a cheat code. But in today's era, he'd be playing out of position. Magic would be a small forward in today's era.
You think so? I think he'll still be a point.
It's hard.
I still think he'll be a point.
He'd be a point forward. Exactly what they label LeBron as early in LeBron's career, especially when he went to Miami. He'd be a point forward. And the reason being is because on offense, he'd be a mismatch. If he guarded by another guard, he'd be a mismatch. On defense, he's guarding a forward.
And again, and going back to what you just said, he'll be guarding a forward. I imagine there'll be a lot of cross matching where they'll put even at point guard, they'll still put a forward on him. It'll still be some cross matching.
Exactly.
Depending on the matchup, cross matching.
Magic wasn't insanely physical. Magic was just you know what I'm saying? Like that was his
and he
thing.
Wasn't an extremely talented scorer either. I mean, he could score, but he's not scoring at the clip at this level now today, like a Luka at his size.
He was great off ball, and he was a great facilitator, and he was lengthy on defense. So even in his era, he was a mismatch on defense because if you're Magic and you're guarding a guard, you're 6'8". Your average guard in the NBA is 6'4" to 6'6". At 6'6" is kind of a stretch. You know what I'm saying? Your average point guard in the NBA. Yeah, your average point guard is
about 6. I'll say 6'4".
Right. That's why I said 6'6" is a stretch. So it's like
6'6" is a stretch. It's a stretch.
He's lengthy. It's like, and you look at Kevin Durant. They have Kevin Durant. He was listed as a footer. He was listed as 6'11", all of this crap. Look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, okay, you put a body on him, you think, oh yeah, Kevin Durant is a liability on defense. You put a body on him. No, he's not, because he's lengthy. I've got these extremities that God blessed me with that allows me to play defense, and it makes up for my lack of physicality. Because I can play you off of it and give you the opportunity to shoot, and I make it up because of my right. I made it up because of my reach. It's hard to cross him over. It's hard to pull up in front of him. But then on defense, it's hard to stay in front of him, and it's hard to get a hand up in front of him because he's a long shooter. So it's just one of those situations. Like, man, you gotta appreciate the game for what it's evolved in, and just be realistic about what it is that we're actually complaining about, what we're arguing about. Like, bro, a lot of those guys from that era would not play in today's era. They're liabilities. All the physicality.
Speaking of Kevin Durant, who can you compare back in those 90s to compare Kevin Durant?
Nobody.
But he wasn't the scorer. He wasn't the scorer of Kevin Durant, but his length and his athleticism is comparable to Kevin Durant.
Okay, now pause. If you're going to go from that era, we can do the same thing with this era, but they're really not comparable because, okay, Wembanyama can be compared to Kevin Durant as far as length, but as far as athleticism and skill set, it doesn't. There's a big drop off. There's a huge drop off. And I feel like Wembanyama is going to do better in the league than what we anticipated because of that same exact reason. He's not super physical, but he is a long body to score on in the paint. And most guys, unless you're Kyrie Irving and you're a wizard, it's almost impossible to score on. You can beat him and try to hit him with a reverse layup, and he's so long that he still can contest that layup from the opposite side of the rim. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just But you really can't compare him to Kevin Durant because he doesn't have the offensive skill set that Kevin Durant has.
In the 90s, I'll say Clyde Drexler.
Clyde the Glide? That's kind of tough, man. That's kind of tough. That's kind of tough.
I'm not saying a shooter. I'm not saying a scorer. Even though Clyde the Glide can score now.
Clyde can score. Clyde can score. He can get it done. And same thing on defense. Yeah, his length definitely did help him on defense a lot.
But I
don't
think
these days is just the way that it was. I don't think shooting in the 80s and 90s was emphasized the way that it is now. Like guys struggled with mid-range games in the 80s and 90s. You get what I'm saying? Everybody, your best guys in the 90s were slashers.
Yes. I agree.
Everybody, your best guys in the 90s were slashers. So it's like
games averaged in the 90s was 90. The games on average on a regular Tuesday night where you have 11, 12 games on a Tuesday night, the average score will be like 90 to 87. 95 to 92.
It's like,
and then here now in these days, it'll be a game could be 140 to 137. And you looking like you like, what the hell? Where was the defense? I mean,
it's just evolution of the game, man. I don't think it's so much as defense. Granted, defense has slacked a lot, but I mean that's impartial due to just
the
NBA
hand check. There's no hand check.
Yeah, the NBA had to find a way to become more European friendly. I mean, the early 2000s is when you got a big influx of European talent. I mean, you got guys like Ricky Rubio, Tony Parker,
Dirk,
Gobert, Dirk,
Manu.
These are guys that they have great offensive skill sets, but on defense, it's like, yeah. If I had to pick an all defense team, I don't think a single European player has ever made an all defensive team. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Try Tony
closest
one.
Tony
Kukoc.
Tony Kukoc was that guy.
I think Tony Kukoc.
Tony Kukoc was that guy. Listen, back to the Bulls of the 90s. Appreciate the Bulls for what they were. The Bulls were a really well put together team from front to back.
Everything complemented each other.
The Bulls had legitimate options, especially when they went out and got Tony Kukoc. Yeah. Like people feel like, if Scottie was that good, Scottie would have led the Bulls when Mike was gone. No, the Bulls' back office was not having that by any means necessary. Because if the Bulls would have let Scottie take off and Scottie Pippen really flourish and become Scottie, the Scottie that the NBA hardwood classics have led us to, grow to appreciate when you actually sit down and watch the Bulls and how they operated and stop operating off, Mike got 6 defensive MVPs. That's cool. Scottie had your toughest defensive assignment. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, they gotta they want to Mike the rest on defense somewhat.
Listen. Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc might be the best 2 and 3. And when I say 2 and 3, I mean second and third option in championship franchise history. They might be the best second and third option in franchise history. Listen, do you understand the defensive assignment, the headache of a defensive assignment that you're handing out when you tell somebody, hey man, Mike gonna get him. I need you to go out there and stop Scottie from getting 20. Or I need you to go out there and stop Tony Kukoc from dropping 20. Like, we talk about the legend of Mike and people downplay how good Scottie Pippen was, but the legend of Tony Kukoc and the delay that it took him to actually the delay he had to coming to America and actually playing in the NBA because he wanted to play for his home country and what he did to Team USA and the Olympics. Come on, man. Come on, man.
The Bulls roster was well put together. It's not like the Phoenix Suns of today where they have 2 ball dominant guards like Devin Booker.
They look good on paper
and Bradley Beal with no point guard.
No. Yeah, no. The Bulls was put together front to back, man. And every time they made changes in the 90s, it was, you don't know if it was a fall off or upgrade. Because what you lacked in one thing, you got in something else, and it was like people don't even realize the Bulls were like, the core of the Bulls was so good that Dennis Rodman is looked at as a defensive specialist. People don't understand. Dennis Rodman stopped shooting when he got to Chicago. He stopped shooting when he got to Chicago. They didn't want him to shoot. Dennis Rodman had one job in Chicago. You are the cleanup man. I don't need you to score.
If he gave you 5 to 7, well, it was happy.
Listen, your worst nightmare is if Dennis Rodman came to the game and he was pissed off. And when I say pissed off, I mean pissed off at his teammates. Because he's not about to go up there and stink up the place. Dennis Rodman is about to go up there and show his teammates just who Dennis Rodman really is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he stopped scoring when he got to Chicago. Think about how well of a roster that you have to have where I'm not even worried about him scoring. He's capable of scoring. I know he can score when we need him to score. I'm not even worried about him scoring. Dennis, I don't want you scoring. I want you getting rebounds and kicking it back out. Think about that, bro. This man was getting rebounds and could have easily he was getting rebounds and could have easily went back up and got 2 points. What is Dennis Rodman doing? I'm getting rebounds and I'm tossing it back out. Tossing it back out. Like, this man mastered the art of rebounding because that was his only assignment in Chicago. Then you had Mike. Then you had Tony Kukoc. Then you had Scotty. Then you had Steve Kerr, who was the shooter. The shooter. Most of you didn't even know who Steve Kerr was until he became Golden State's head coach. Steve Kerr was the shooter for the Bulls.
Steve Kerr was a shooter.
Like, bro, it is insane. So to say that LeBron started super teams when he left Cleveland and went to Miami, no. He left Cleveland because Cleveland wouldn't get him help to beat a super team in Boston. Like, think about what he had to come out to, what he had to go through in the East before he actually got his opportunity to win. And even though the Pacers never got one in that time frame, you had the Pacers with Roy Hibbert, Danny Granger, Lance Stevenson. The Celtics.
Danny Granger.
Like, man. The Celtics, you had Rondo, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. What's his name?
Talking about who for Celtics?
Yeah, Brian Scalabrine. People think Scalabrine was trash. Scalabrine was bro. Like, we're living in this highlight era of sports where it's like, oh man, you weren't that good. You weren't that good. Son, you couldn't carry that man's gym bag on a bad day. But I mean, we just gotta appreciate the evolution of sports for what it is, man. But quick question, back to football, because we didn't really get to touch on it. How are you feeling about? I don't really care about the NFL kickoff rule, but how are you feeling as a coach about the hip drop tackle being eliminated from the NFL?
And this is coming from an offensive guy. I don't like it. And here's why. First of all, let's go back to the quarterback rule when it comes to with the sliding. Are you still with me?
I'm still with you, man. Technical difficulties on my end, but I'm still with you.
Okay. So let's go to the whole thing with the quarterback slide. Once the quarterback gives himself up, you are to pull off. You are to pull off. Correct me if I'm wrong. So now, what has happened is the quarterbacks have gotten smarter. And what I mean by
they've gotten confident. They've gotten confident. They know that. Yeah.
It ain't that it's confident. It's just that they know how to position their body where it looks like they're about to slide.
Yeah,
when they're not about to slide. It's like they know how to drop their hips and position their chest and position their shoulders to make it seem like they're about to slide. And then when the defender thinks, "Oh shoot, I need to pull up," and then he shoots and goes. And so I say that to say this: there's already uncertainty with defenders as far as tackling goes, especially when a quarterback is running. So with the hip drop tackle, it just brings more uncertainty for a defender as far as how exactly am I to tackle. Now, one thing I will say, and we just talked about this some weeks ago, that when it comes to, there's protections for receivers, there's protections for quarterbacks, but there seems to be not a protection for the running back. So as much as I say I don't like the fact that they ban hip drop tackles, at the same time, I can understand that. And at least now there's somewhat some protection for the running back.
Right. Because this is more so the hip drop tackle was focused on. And people don't understand that. And, Ryan Clark got a little bit of backlash. For anybody that doesn't know who Ryan Clark was, Ryan Clark, before his time as a color commentator now for ESPN, and he spent his playing time as a safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And go educate yourself on his play style, man. He said something that a lot of people didn't agree with, which was, if he was still playing and he met Derrick Henry in the hole, he's making that tackle. Now, as a defensive guy myself, I understand where he was coming from with that statement. A lot of people look at Derrick Henry like, oh man, he's 6'4", 6'5", whatever, 200 and whatever pounds. But it's like, bro, you have to understand with power runners, if you hit them before they get going, before they actually build momentum and pick up speed,
you can bring them down quickly.
You're gonna make.
And that's what he meant. That's what he meant. If I meet Derrick Henry in that hole before he gets a head full of steam, he's going down.
He's going down, right? And Ryan Clark, being who Ryan Clark is, me being familiar with Ryan Clark, I watched a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers growing up, even though I'm a Cowboys fan. My favorite safety, one of my favorite safeties all time, was Troy Polamalu. I wore 43 my first year of high school because of Troy Polamalu. It was one of those things like, hey, what number you want to wear? 43. It was just one of those things. Yeah. But you watch Ryan Clark, you watch Troy Polamalu, their playing styles were really similar. I'm going to play fast. I'm going to play reckless, under control, but with reckless abandon. Whereas I'm going to sacrifice my body to make this play, and I don't care. And that's just what it is. What you see now is the evolution of how the game is taught. You hear a lot of the younger corners complaining and a lot of the younger defensive backs complaining about, oh, how am I supposed to make a tackle and da-da-da-da and this, that, and the third. And it's like, bro, go back to your fundamentals. Go back to your fundamentals. Right. Same thing. Richard Sherman came out and he said, oh, I would like to see them, make a video and walk us through how they want us to make a tackle. Listen, Richard, you're a corner. You were a corner. You were a corner who converted to corner from receiver. So honestly, realistically speaking, if he were still with the Seattle Seahawks playing in that defense that he played in, I don't even expect Richard Sherman to come up and get his nose dirty in that. Why? Because you played alongside Bobby Wagner and Cam Chancellor. Yeah. You played beside one of the best linebackers all time. I don't care what anybody says. Bobby Wagner is that guy. And you played against one of the best safeties who had their career cut short. due to neck injuries and head injuries. And Kam Chancellor, everybody knows, like, not too many running backs can say, yeah, man, I ran up against Kam Chancellor and I won. Ezekiel Elliott is literally the only running back that I can recall in the past 10 years or in the past time frame that when Kam Chancellor played. Ezekiel Elliott is the only running back that I can recall that actually won his one-on-one battle with Cam. Not once, but twice. Or actually on multiple occasions. It's like, it happens to the best of them. Right. So it's like, I'm not expecting you to come up and make certain plays. It's just like a coach tells you growing up, man. Listen, you make the plays that come to you. You make the plays that come to you. When you try to do somebody else's job, you're going to mess up and then you're going to give up a big play. You make the plays that come to you.
I will say,
Richard Sherman, if you're fooled and you know Derrick Henry just so happened to get to the second level and he's untouched and you there, just know you're a doormat. That's not that's not your play style. I expect you to jump routes. I expect you to break up passes downfield. I expect you to catch interceptions. Ryan Clark, not so much. Ryan Clark he played with a different mentality. I'm looking for the big hit. I'm looking to decapitate you from the ball. I'm looking to separate you from the football at all times. And there's been several guys in history who play that way, but it's just like it's one or the other. You rarely get ball hawks that are good tacklers. You rarely get good tacklers that are ball hawks. It was rare that you had that in one person. And the only two people that I can think of that played the defensive back or the safety position that had that were Brian Dawkins and Sean Taylor.
I will say, going back to the hip drop. Going back to the hip drop tackle, I will say I can understand it, and this is just, and the only way you can understand this is for the ones that play football. As a defender, it changes the way you tackle, and going back to what you said, it's changed that you have to be more technical sound with your tackling and actually drive through the ball carrier. Because what we tend to do is we try to make a tackle. Let's say we try to make a tackle, and the ball carrier kind of drives through the arm tackle, and you kind of got them wrapped up from behind. And they're pulling you and pulling you. What's your natural tendency to do is to rock back and kind of sit back on their legs and try to drive them back and actually sit down and drop your hips to bring them down. That's just a natural tendency for you to do. You're trying to tackle a ball carrier. You kind of can't get your body on him to drive through him. So he kind of goes through your arms, and now you're kind of behind him, wrapped up. And the first thing that you want to do is drop your hips to try to bring him down. Almost the equivalent of the horse collar when you're behind them. The natural tendency, and this is called the Roy Williams rule, where you want to tug on the back of that jersey just to bring them down. It brings their forward momentum back. It's kind of coming in the same category, so I can undersee why they're doing it, but at the same time, this piled on top of all the other rule changes they made for the offense. That's why my first instinct is like, golly, as an offensive guy, I can understand why defenders can get frustrated, because it's like, what do you do? But at the same time, it does clean that part up as far as that goes. As far as now, you can't just wrap behind somebody and try to sink your body weight on them.
And but I really think it's just trying to, like we said, there's not many rules in the NFL to protect ball carriers. There's not many.
Yeah, rules. And it protects the running backs.
Yeah, and there's the crown rule that was put into place to protect defensive backs, and more so defensive backs. When you really think about it, it was more so defensive backs.
I'm leading in with the crown in your helmet.
Right. No, not necessarily that one. So we're gonna refer back to Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson he had that Bronco Buck style of running, and he would drop the crown of his helmet when a defender would come, and it's like, it's a natural movement for a ball carrier, but at the same time, you're protecting the tackler. So we kind of got to this hip drop situation a long time ago, through that rule change, because now it's one of those situations where Adrian Peterson was a taller running back. Same thing like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's a taller running back. most of your running backs top out at 6 foot. They top out at 6 foot. Adrian Peterson, if I'm not mistaken, Adrian Peterson's like 6'1", 6'2".
6'1", yeah.
Yeah. Derrick Henry is about 6'3", 6'4". So it's definitely one of those situations where certain rules were put in place to help guys, you know, some years ago and protect them, but nothing was necessarily to protect one position. You kind of made another position more susceptible to injuries. So with that one is definitely.
So let's go over the rule changes. Let's go over the rule changes here by position. So for the protected receivers, we have the defensive player rule. Mm-hmm. You know, you can no longer just whenever they're midair, just go ahead and just plant your helmet in the middle of their chest or declate them or whatever. Defensive player rule, which ties into targeting. You know,
but once again, we're going to highlight that rule doesn't necessarily protect running back.
Right, and I'm about to get to that. I'm just going over all the rule changes, just as far as per position group before we get to the running back. So now you got that for the receivers, and then now for the quarterbacks, you can't tackle below the knee. You can't lead in with the crowd in your helmet. You can't drive a quarterback flat on his back. I mean, we can go on and on about quarterbacks. You get what I'm saying? Offensive linemen, you know, you cannot, you know, hands to the face, hands to the head. They eliminated that. When we got the running backs before they made this rule change, what rule change did they have for the running backs?
You didn't have any.
You didn't have rule
that came. Yeah, the one rule that came for running backs was the rule that was changed for Adrian Peterson, which was a ball carrier can't lead with the crown of their helmet. So once again, like I said, it didn't help the ball carrier. It actually helped defenders. It helped those guys who were running up, who were afraid of getting ran over by, you know, Adrian Peterson.
Right.
There's no other way to slice it. There's no other way to cut it. You know, like we just said, as a corner, I'm not looking for you to be one of the stronger tacklers on the team. I need you to get there, drive your feet. If you can, hold him up. Hold him up. You probably got a safety coming over top that's a better tackler than you. He's probably going to come help you clean up the tackle. Or you got a line. You should have a linebacker coming over, you know, that's there that if you hold him up long enough, should be able to make the play. But realistically speaking, like we have to get out of this, well, how do you want us to do this? How do you want us to do that? If you go back to the fundamentals of what you were taught, and I feel like the hip drop tackle, I really feel like it came from a place of it was a poor technique that was never corrected because we had the same issue coaching. We had this same issue coaching when we first got to high school. We saw a lot of guys that first year that we got to the high school that they would make contact, stop their feet, and pretty much anchor down. And our head coach, our head coach, being a former linebacker, said, no, we're not going to tackle like that. We're gonna drive our feet and drive to the tackle. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So you see the difference in position. Like I said, you have yet to get, if I missed it, correct me. But I don't think you've seen any linebacker, outside middle linebacker, I don't think you've seen any linebacker in the NFL complain about the hip drop tackle rule. It's all been defensive backs and more so corners. And I believe that's true. Yeah, I believe that the whole, you know, hip drop thing came about, like I said, I think it came from a point of, you know, poor technique that was never corrected, as well as just being out of position and trying to make a play. That's more so, you know, that's the biggest thing that I can draw from it is just being out of position and making the play. Because as a linebacker, 9 times out of 10, when you go to make that tackle, it's either going to be squared up in the middle, or you're making an angle tackle towards the sideline. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
As a corner,
I mean, when you think about it, you don't see too many hip drop tackles within a game. You don't really see it too much.
You don't. And the ones that you do see come from the same skill position. And they're typically not your stronger tacklers on the team.
Right.
So I mean, it's just it's just you gotta be able to adapt, man. And that's with anything in life. You gotta be able to adapt. You gotta be able to adjust. But yeah, like for the coaches out there, man, that at the little league level, at the rec yard level, at the high school level, let's get back to coaching the fundamentals. Let's get back to coaching the fundamentals. Make contact, head opposite, drive your feet. Let's get back to the fundamentals of tackling. You know what I'm saying? Like everything's not a big hit. Things are going to happen. You're going to get ran over. The best of us do. You're going to get ran over. And I mean, it is what it is, man. Telling on myself a little bit. So a couple years ago, my last season playing semi-pro football. Played this team out of Orlando Phantom. Running back, hellacious running back. Not the best in the league, but hellacious running back, man. Hats off to him. I can't even remember his name right now. If I had his name, I'll shout him out. But if you played for the Orlando Phantom 2 years ago and you played the Georgia Cobras in Georgia, you probably remember this, man. We met midfield. I was playing middle linebacker. You broke a little run. We made contact midfield. You actually won the battle. I'll keep the buck. You won the battle, but I won in the end because in you winning that battle, I still forced that fumble and I got the fumble recovery. So joke's on you. But I mean, it's just, when you playing football, man, you can't play the game afraid. That's it. You really just can't play the game afraid. You play the game afraid, you're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes. Ultimately, you're probably going to hurt yourself. You're probably going to get yourself hurt. Yeah, you're probably going to get yourself hurt being afraid of getting hurt. So for the moms out there that got kids or got sons that, they want to play football and you're afraid of your baby getting hurt, listen, kids don't know fear. We teach them fear. My daughter is fearless. Kids don't know fear. We teach them fear. And being as rough as I was when I was growing up and just, football and everything like that, my daughter, she scares the daylight out of me sometimes because she's fearless. She has absolutely no fear. Gymnastics, soccer, whatever. Yeah, they don't have fear. We teach them that fear. But yeah, just give your kids that confidence, man. Give your kids that confidence that they can do anything that they put their mind to and they'll succeed. As long as you try hard and put forth maximum effort, you will be successful in what you do.
With that being said, I know you guys wondering, hey, when we gonna see our man of the hour, Perry Fisher, and he's coming. Don't worry about that, ladies and gentlemen. He is coming. Sometimes you get it's spring, middle of spring training, spring practice.
Spring practice, baby.
We all understand. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna sign off for the time being. Hey, we've done this before. We're gonna sign off for the time being. We're gonna come back. We're gonna bring back Perry Fisher. Come back with a friend in tow. We're gonna get right down into the nuts and bolts of everything that's going on, Perry Fisher. And then we're gonna end this Victory Road series Friday night on a good note. So once again, we're gonna sign off for a little bit. We're gonna wait till getting off the football field. You gotta take a shower, you gotta get freshened up, get your slides on, get the cleats off your feet and all that stuff. Get the funk of a football field in the locker room out you. You gotta chill out and relax a little bit. So we're gonna get Perry a little bit of time to do that. We're gonna bring him right on in, and then we're gonna chill out. We're gonna hang out with our boy Perry Fisher, and we're gonna get answer all the questions that you may have, maybe thinking. We're gonna ask all the questions that you may be thinking, and that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna sign off for the time being. We'll be right back in a few minutes. Y'all just stay on and hold tight with us.